if you can grab it. Good morning. I'm coming to you from the bed today because it is Sunday and we're relaxing. I'm about to put an order in for bagels, and then I imagine Obi's gonna give me some choices for documentaries. But I've been awake for like an hour, just chilling. That's perfect. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
The case against Adnan Saeed,
Okay.
Grey Gardens, or the house next door.
I'm gonna pick Grey Gardens.
Thought you might.
I would rather be somewhere with you, without TV or phone. Is it wrong for me to want you for my own? This Christmas, let the others miss us. Let's go get snow. Let's go get snow. How long could being
So after watching Grey Gardens, we realized we needed to leave this house and go for a walk. We're gonna go for a walk. It's cold. Yeah. Hello. So I'm going to do some skincare and I'm going to chat with you for a second. I have my one of the mirrors that they sent me from Onyx that I'm officially obsessed with. And I'm just gonna, I'm not really gonna talk through my skincare. I'm just mostly we're gonna hang out and chat. But I wanted to talk to you about the walk that we went on, and I basically came home and just like cried because of my lungs. I'm so it's just so hard on my lungs to just do normal activity, and I think I kind of forgot, and I was really disappointed and really sad about it and really physically uncomfortable, and I wanted that to just not be my reality, you know? And I don't really know that I have like a moral to the story, but I also just think that sometimes when I think there's just a lot of story around, for me, around like what I should be able to do right now and like how I'm supposed to feel, and I don't feel those things and I can't do those things, and I find that to be very difficult. And yeah, and so it was a hard walk, and Obi was super supportive and we kind of talked it out, but I think it's a weird thing to not know what's going on with your body, so you don't really know what's the right thing for your body at a given moment, you know? Like, maybe I would be better if I pushed through that feeling, or maybe it would be way worse because we just have no clue what's going on, and I'm having to just accept my limitations at the moment, and I classically don't like to do that. So yeah, I guess like it was just kind of, I'm just kind of turning the camera on because this is kind of one of those moments where, oh, they went on a lovely walk. And how beautiful and nice. And you don't really get to see the behind the scenes element of it. Like, I'm not gonna come home and like film myself like crying and coughing and trying to get my breath back. But I do want to kind of give you, I like to be honest, and I'm trying to even be honest with myself about the fact that this is happening. if I'm telling the truth, like I'm struggling to even really admit to myself, like, this is a real thing. This isn't in your brain. Even as the doctors show me the x-rays or show me the CT scans and are like, this is what's going on. There's a very real part of me that's like indoctrinated to believe that I could fix this and that it's somehow my fault or that I have earned this in some way, and that it, you know. And so anyway, all of that came up today. Super cute, so fun. Obi was great teammate to me though. I took a nice long shower, which felt really good both on my lungs and on my heart. And now I'm feeling all skin-cared up. We're just gonna have a really relaxing rest of the day. So I'm just gonna have like a smoothie for lunch, I think. Maybe I'll have a snack later if I'm hungry, but as of right now, I just kind of want to pop some fruits and vegetables into my body. I'm using one from Daily Harvest. Here's kind of our relationship to Daily Harvest. We order them, I mean, I think we've ordered like one round for 6 months, and we just kind of have them in the freezer for when we need a smoothie, but we don't like get a delivery of them every month. And that so far works for us. We were eating a smoothie like almost every day for a while. We just don't really anymore as much. But the one I'm having today is pineapple, kale, coconut, lime, matcha. So it's really just mostly kale and pineapple, which I'm not mad about. And yeah, I'm just gonna put a little bit of water in here and blend her up. Okay, so let's go have a little chat. I was thinking a fun thing to do today would be to talk to you about my favorite books that I read this year, because that was like one of my big objectives for 2020 was to read more, and I did. I felt so proud of that. So I was like, maybe I'll share like every book that I read in 2020, and I just feel like that will take too long and not be very interesting at all. And so I think I'm just gonna pick my top 5 books from the year and share those with you here. Okay, so we are here. I have my smoothie and I have my books. I promised 5 books and then I could not narrow it down. So we're gonna do 10. Okay, so let's start with the one that I think had the biggest impact on me this year, just kind of changed me the most, held me the most, and that is It's Okay That You Are Not Okay by Megan Devine. This book is it says meeting grief and loss in a culture that doesn't understand. This book is basically just it's a book all about grief, about what you can expect when it comes to grief. It's really validating. So it's essentially like what you're experiencing is real, what you're experiencing is fair. You don't have to show up in a certain way right now. That's okay. It was the #1 book that I read on grief that I felt like really spoke the words that I needed to hear back to me. And it honestly felt like a really good friend. And so this is what I want everyone who's grieving to be able to read, especially in the beginning stages as you're still in the messy bits. And a lot of us are in the messy bits for a long time. There's no wrong way. And this helped me to really believe that. Okay. I'm going to sip my smoothie in between because I need it. Okay, the next 2 books are books on writing specifically. I read On Writing by Stephen King. I read that again this year and it was also really good. But it was a reread and I feel like almost everyone has read it, so I didn't pull it down. The two that I read that I feel like I want to share with you today are Becoming a Writer by Dorothea Brand. This was written originally in 1934, but it's still incredibly relevant. This is a great book if you are someone who maybe has a hard time getting started with writing, or has kind of like, you know, you're a writer, but you just aren't writing for some reason. This is a really good one for you. So I picked up a couple of habits from this. One of those I talk to the Brave Collective about all the time, which is just kind of write for 15 minutes every day, no matter what time of day it is. Just like pick up your pen and start writing, or like set an alarm and just kind of build the habit of like, I can write at any moment on the spot. I picked this up from her and I couldn't recommend it enough. Again, it's great if you know you're a writer in your brain, but you're struggling to take the action on it. Okay, the next writing book that I read this year that was really impactful for me was The Art of Memoir by Mary Carr. This was, I think, my gateway into reading writing books again this year. I picked this one up and then from there just kind of got hungry. I read this, I read Becoming a Writer, I read On Writing. I just kind of dove head first. I bought a masterclass by David Sedaris about writing, and we'll get into that a little bit more in a minute, but yeah, great book, especially if you're a memoirist. She talks kind of about the ethics of memoir. She talks about how do you navigate writing about people in their real life, all of that. So really, really good. This is the only Enneagram book I'm going to share just because I almost like, I have my little book chart in my bullet journal and I don't even write Enneagram books in there because I read so many and I get sent so many that it doesn't really feel like reading as much as it feels like research and work. So it's not as much of a like pleasure read for me in the same way, and I don't feel like I'm growing from it in any significant way other than just like in my workspace. Like it feels kind of like market research or research for my career. So it's just not the same thing. However, I did reread this one this year, and this is like one of my favorite books. I've been rereading it through Vlogmas, and it's just so good, honestly. I think I read it for the first time. It's been a couple years, and I haven't really revisited it much. And revisiting it now, I think I'm even like more primed and ready for it or something. Like it's just the right time for me to really absorb its depth. And it's just so good. So this book is The Enneagram in Love and Work by Helen Palmer. Understanding your intimate and business relationships. I think it's fascinating that she combined those two. In the beginning, she talks about how most of our lives are built out of love and work. Like most of our time is dedicated to those two things, and that's true. Yeah, there was just a lot of things, like you can see even in my chapter, I've like underlined it and scribbled in it a lot. Like one of the things, like this is like my big growth this year. It says, 7s grow by staying instead of leaving. They grow by dealing with pain, which is like something I know. And I know that element of the Enneagram. I know that's like our work, but it's just like so simply phrased and so direct. It says you have a choice when you've made a commitment and can watch your attention fracture. It helps to stay for one more minute instead of going away. And this is something that I talk to 7s about a lot, is I set short deadlines for myself, or short-term commitments. And then because when the bad feelings come, it makes you want to run. But if you say like, no, I'm committing for this period of time, I can recommit afterwards. And then went from a place of like, after you've stayed for one more minute, usually you get through whatever the hardship was and you're fine. But she just puts it so simply and beautifully. So this is a really, really good Enneagram book, my favorite, and a good reread this year. Okay, now we're getting into relationship books and books on love. So the first one that I read this year that was awesome was The Mastery of Love by Miguel Ruiz. I have lots of little spots kind of marked off in here because this was so, I feel like, practical and actionable, which I appreciate. It also, it literally says a practical guide to the art of relationship. That is the perfect descriptor. That's what it feels. It feels like it's saying, like, relationship is an art. You get to decide how you create yours, and here's some practical tips along the way. The main thing I liked about it is that it's very big on, like, you can't control other people, you can only control yourself, which is kind of my philosophy on any personal growth work. Is like an attempt to control another person is always kind of, I'm in the wrong place. So this one was really about, like, what's your role here, and how can you work on your side of the street and make sure that it's clean and release the expectation of how other people are showing up. That is really good. So this is great if you are in a relationship and you want to improve it, or you want to work on it, or you just want to, like, have the best relationship you can have, and you don't know that your partner is going to be able to, like, jump in on that with you, and maybe you're kind of like, is this something I'm going to have to do alone? Or maybe your partner will jump in on it with you, and you both get to kind of deal with your own sides of the street at the same time. It's really good. This one I think we've talked about a lot. Obi and I are still actively reading it because we're reading it together, and we're kind of just doing a little bit of it at a time, very, very slowly reading through it. But it's the 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work by John Gottman. The Gottman Institute is, like, one of, like, the leading founders of, like, healthy marriage understanding and research. They've done, like, all kinds of studies, and it's just, like, really interesting and, like, scientific the way that they approach it. And it's kind of like they use studies and data to tell you, like, yeah, you can continue that behavior, and I will tell you that, you know, 80% of marriages that have this behavior, they fail. So you can pick, basically. And it's been awesome. Like, Obi and I have just, like, really fallen in love with it, and have kind of bonded over reading this together. And it's just really practical, really straightforward, and there's tons of homework and action steps that you can take together. If you read one marriage book in your whole life, I hope it's this one. It's so, so good. I'm actually pretty sure that someone recommended this to us, like, our first year of marriage, and we didn't read it, and I wish we had. I think we would understand each other so much better if we had read it sooner. Okay. Now we're getting into memoirs. So the 2 best kind of memoir-esque books that I read this year is Calypso by David Sedaris. I told you I would talk about David Sedaris a little bit more because I read this at the beginning of, like, my first Unplugged week, and it lit a fire under me. His writing, I think, is just so perfect. I just think it's perfection. It's so funny and insightful and kind of subtle. He's a little fat shamey, which I'm not a big fan of. I wish he knew. I wish I could tell him this to his face. But otherwise, I mean, he's just my favorite writer. I just think he is so talented and so funny, and I don't write like him, and I don't think I ever will. I don't intend to, but I wish I did. You know what I mean? Like, this is like this is like the pinnacle to me of, like, what I wish I wrote. I just think he's so talented. So, yeah, reading this, like, is what lit the fire under me to just, like, start writing more. And it's the reason that I even read the writing books that I read this year. And then again, I signed up for his masterclass and took that, and it was awesome. But it was a great read. He's just so funny. Yeah, he's so funny. I don't know how often I've read a book and just laughed out loud, but I always do with any book of his I've read. Except for his journals. I read his journals and they were more just kind of like, here's the sad truth of things, you know? They weren't as like intended to be funny, obviously. But every other book I've laughed out loud. And I loved his journals too. They're just different style. Which this chapter of his book brings me to the next one, which is Untamed by Glennon Doyle. I really think this is going to be like the book of the year for most people. Like this, I think culturally was a really important book. I think it's a step in changing what it means to be a woman in our society, changing what it means to live with expectations put on us, and how free we're allowed to be. Yeah, I think it's a culture shifter, this book, and I don't know if I've met anyone this year who read this book who didn't love it. Maybe one or two people, actually. I know, because we did it in Brave Collective, but I do feel like this book represents a lot of how culture is shifting and changing. And I just admire Glennon as a person and kind of her commitment to action and her commitment to feedback and her commitment to her craft. So, and vulnerability. Yeah, all those things. I admire them very much. So this book, big one on the list this year. It really, I mean, it just feels like therapy reading it. Like you're just being told, like, why are you worried about that again? Why are you working so hard to like be accepted again? Like, what if you just were yourself and we're fine? I think we all need that. I think it's a balm. So yes, good one. I have two fiction books for you. The first one is not here because I listened to it on Audible, but it is Where the Crawdads Sing. I listened to that at the beginning of the year when I was still traveling, and it was so good. It was one of the best books that I've read in a long time in terms of like fiction. It reminded me a lot of just like what it's like to fend for yourself as a kid, and it was just a brilliant, I don't want to tell you too much because I don't want to tell you what it's about or what happens in it. That's the tricky thing with fiction books, but it was a really like great protagonist. You're really rooting for her, and it kind of brought me back to childhood feels, which I think is nice and important. So, Where the Crawdads Sing, again, one of the best fiction books I read this year, by far. This is the other fiction book that I read this year that I told Obi yesterday, I was like, I want you to read this so bad because I want to talk about it, and I can't tell you what happens. So, if any of you read this and want to talk about it, or have read it, let's talk in the comments. But it is just so good. I can't tell you anything about it, but it's Leave the World Behind by I think it's Ruman Alam. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but basically these two people and their children rent an Airbnb, and then the owners of the Airbnb, this is in the descriptor, the owners of the Airbnb, they show up one night, and then they have to kind of like figure out what to do with that. So it is so good. It's just so good. And I want you to read it like right now. If you're gonna read a fiction book that I recommend, like read this one soon, because I just think reading it right now would be helpful, or just like more interesting if you read it during this kind of weird year we're having, or weird season that we're having. So if you're looking for a good fiction book, I would say read this one first. Read Where the Crawdads Sing, but like that one's a little bit more like you can read that anytime and it will be just as meaningful. I think this one's particularly relevant at the moment. So that is my top 10 books of 2020, and I hope you enjoy any of them. If you've read any of the books below, let me know, and then if you have a second, tell me what's your favorite book that you read this year, and then maybe I can grab a copy as well. All right, the rest of the day, I'm going to finish this smoothie, probably do something really relaxing. We're gonna keep it real chill. And that's kind of why I wanted to do the books today, because most of the video is gonna be kind of boring, because I'm gonna read, we're gonna watch movies. I'm intentionally not gonna clean. There's a lot of stuff kind of cluttered around our house, which is difficult for me to ignore, but I'm going to ignore it because I want to rest. I mean, that's what my body needs today and my heart. So I'm gonna rest, and then we'll probably get to it tomorrow. But that's that. I'll see ya whenever I do something else. Bye. It is time for coffee. Honestly, the last little bit of time, I have really just been watching a mixture of videos of people who have had anesthesia and are acting really funny, and just like bronchoscopy informational videos to try and like just kind of calm my anxiety around the procedure, which it worked. It helped me to feel like informed and like I was gonna be fine. That's really all I've been doing though. I'm going to make some coffee now, and I have one Vlogmas video I would like to watch, and then I'll probably read, and then we have probably do movie night tonight. For coffee, I think I'm just gonna make like something that feels like a treat but nothing too big. I think I'm just gonna do like a cappuccino size drink with a little bit, sorry, a little bit of brown sugar and maybe like some whipped cream on top, just to feel like it's special. Yeah. So we ordered our meat from the local butcher for Christmas, and then we got a couple of extra little things for ourselves for the week, and they are doing contactless delivery right now, which is so awesome. And we got it. They just came. Yeah, so it's here. We got short rib for Christmas, and then we got house-made hot dogs, and we got some breakfast sausage. The short rib is like the same as it costs to get it at the grocery store, and the hot dogs and the breakfast sausage are more expensive, but it's like better meat. So, and we're supporting a local place who's doing something awesome during COVID, so super fun little treat. This is a card game that Obi got me for anniversary. Part of anniversary?
No, was it for, I think it was just for fun one day.
Oh, just for fun, just because gift, because he's lovely. And it has all these awesome questions on it. And you basically decide on a number of cards and you each pick them. And then you go through and discuss your cards. It's really fun. So we finished our hangout time or check-in time. I was going to show you a couple of the questions that we answered, but I just realized we put them on the bottom. Let me get them out. Okay. So a couple of the ones that we talked about were, do you think we'll still be close in 15 years? What do you think is holding me back from my success? How would you describe my relationship with money? What is our biggest challenge as a couple? Who sacrifices more in our relationship? And how do you feel about that? Who has more power in this relationship? In what ways do my friends reflect who I am? Which one of my friends don't you trust? Where do you think I waste money? And we answered a couple more, but it's kind of the gist. They're really fun. Like they're like deep questions, but it's a really fun way to connect and kind of check in. And now we're gonna order dinner. So this is a weird week for us because normally we do transition days on Sunday, but it's holiday break. So his mom has him for Christmas. So it's like weird to have a whole Sunday. Like we always see our little on Sunday, no matter what week it is. So it's a little bit strange. So normally we're doing either the morning with him or the evening with him. But today it's just the two of us. So we're going to watch a movie this evening and order takeout now. So we're going to order some Chinese. Okay, so we have decided to watch the Grey Gardens feature film because we watched the Grey Gardens documentary this morning, and they have a film that was made in 2009 that basically tells their whole story, has Drew Barrymore in it. It's kind of the perfect thing to kind of pair with watching the documentary because the documentary doesn't really tell you much about their story. So we're hoping that the movie will like fill in the logistical details. But I got a new puzzle in because we just put our other puzzle away. So I got a new one, and I already am like, I don't know why I pick these hard ones. I just pick pretty ones, and they're like, then they get here, and I'm like, wait a second, this is going to be really hard. So this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be a beast to tackle. We ordered our food. It should be here any minute. And I think we're just going to eat dinner, work our puzzle, watch Grey Gardens, the film. And so I think this is a good time for me to kind of call it for the night. We'll end day 20 here. And yeah, thank you guys for joining me for another day. This was like the perfect, restful Sunday that I needed. I really just needed like a deep, easy, no expectations day, and it felt really nice. Tomorrow's going to be like a fun day because it's kind of a work day, kind of not a work day. The first day of like very, very light work. And then we get to figure out what we're going to do with it. So I'll see you tomorrow for day 21. Bye.